Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Jerry Can Show. The show that has not found its meaning or purpose whatsoever to any measurable degree. But today we're going to talk Hot Wheels. Now, everybody knows that Hot Wheels are collector's items. I mean, they're big and huge, just as much as baseball cards were, hockey cards were, all that stuff. It's one of those nostalgic things that, a lot of us kind of don't realize unless you're in my age bracket. And if you're in my age bracket, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So today I'm going to show off my Hot Wheels collection, and hopefully you guys will get a good glimpse on just how cool these things are. I mean, at $1 a pop, $2 a pop, even at some high end grocery stores, they're pretty dope to have. So without further ado, let's check this out. So as an amateur YouTube, I'm not even going to call myself an artist, an amateur YouTube poster, this is what I have to offer to the YouTube world. This is my collection of Hot Wheels cars. And I've been accruing them over the course, like basically ever since COVID hit. Like I was sitting around, I was bored as hell, and I had to go everywhere wearing a bloody mask, and it just sucked. It sucked for all of us. Let's just make that clear. And I'm pretty sure everybody watching this video will agree with that. So I took these up as a hobby, and I used to have a huge collection when I was younger. As a kid. Obviously, as a kid, I took them out of the box and played with them. But as I grew older and got into my 20s, I realized the value of keeping these things in their packs, in mint condition. Because, like I said, some of these things sell for a lot of money, like a shit ton of money. Pardon my language. But they're essentially memorabilia. And the good thing about Hot Wheels cars, and of course Matchbox, I am not going to be one of those guys that's like, oh, okay, I prefer Coke over Pepsi or Pepsi over Coke. Both are awesome, just like Hot Wheels and Matchbox are. They both make awesome products, and I am not going to be on either side of either. But, anyways, my collection today. This is everything that's been released pretty much since the pandemic started. I've been collecting since March 2020. It started with these three cars. Started with this one, and this one. I was at the dollar store, just trying to cheap out on groceries and, get cleaning supplies and all that other fun stuff we're trying to cut corners on. And those are the three that started it all. And ever since then, I've been slowly amassing this collection, which is pretty badass. I mean, if any of you folks out there watching have any appreciation for this kind of thing, you might like it. I mean, it's a hobby, and just like any other hobby, you want it to look dope. So, I started off as such with the abstract cars that Hot Wheels are known for, the ones that don't really exist. Then kind of getting into the ones that do exist. These are limited edition. This is from the movie Thunderball, James Bond. Warthog from Halo. We all love that game. The 69 Ford Talladega from Fast and Furious 7. Extremely rare. Very difficult to find. I got lucky on this one. I just stumbled upon it at a Toys R Us. Which, yeah, Toys R Us still does exist in Canada. And we've got every generation of Mazda RX-7 from the 80s up to the current. My favorite are the Hondas. This is what would generally be considered the first Honda Civic. Then we got the CRX and the Civic EF, which are based on the same platform. We've got the Prelude, and we've got the most recent version. Well, not the most recent version, aside from the new one. And I tried to keep them all in chronological order. If you look here, We start with the 47 Chevy Fleetline, the 52 Hudson Hornet, Doc Hudson. Everybody knows that. Then we got the Mercedes 300 SL, which is actually the first car to use fuel injection based on some of the research I've done. And then we migrate into the 50s. We got the 55 Chevy Nomad, which is called an 8 crate in this version, 57 Plymouth Fury. Then we go to 1964 with the first Pontiac GTO ever made. Designed and built by John DeLorean. And we've got a 69 Camaro convertible, and we're migrating to the 70s. We've got the Challenger, and speaking of DeLorean, first edition, 1981 DMC 12. Then we go over to 84 Mustang SVO. These cars were extremely rare. I'm shocked that Hot Wheels even made a version of it at all. And then we've got the two sister cars, Pontiac Trans Am, Chevrolet Camaro. 89 Porsche 944 Turbo, which was the entry-level Porsche for people at the time. This one, the 96 Porsche Carrera, reminds me a lot of the one that Will Smith drove in Bad Boys, except that was the 911 Turbo. This is just a regular 911. The 96 Impala SS. Anybody who's worth their salt, as far as being a car enthusiast, knows what this car is about and how iconic it is. And then we move forward. 2015 Challenger, 18 Camaro, and 18 Ford Mustang. And again, rewinding back in time, we start the whole thing all over again. This is 1970 Ford Escort, very popular in the rally scene, especially in the Dakar rallies. Way back, like before you or probably me were ever born. And then we got the 1986 AE86. Very famously known for Initial D. I wish I could have got it in that white scheme, but this is all that I found at the time. We got a Nissan Maxima wagon, which were very rare, and a Volvo 240 rocking the same deal. Wagons were actually very popular in Japan for drifting, especially in this kind of configuration. You can see they have front lip spoilers that are very, very, very iconic to that kind of car. And then we've got a Volvo 850 Estate. Also a very underestimated vehicle. I mean, it's a station wagon, but I've seen these things in action and they fly. The 87 Ford Sierra Cosworth is also known as a Merkur. I can't remember exactly what the name of it was, but it was a clone of this car that Ford actually had the rights to that made entrance into North America in small numbers. The Nissan R3090 GTI. This vehicle, if you do your research, was only used as an actual race car. You look at Le Mans, you look at examples like that were built by Mercedes and built by other premium brands like Porsche. It was like it was like a basically it was the civilian version, like the road version of a Le Mans car. And they actually only manufactured one of these for civilian use, everyday use, but the rest were all built for track. And of course, we've got the always favored 91 Mazda MX-5 Miata. One of the most underrated cars ever. And I say that because it's a very small vehicle with very, very light weight, and on top of that, it's rear-wheel drive and it's very tossable. I've driven a couple of these things and it's like driving an oversized go-kart with like the best handling you can possibly imagine. And we got the 94 Audi RSV. These cars were pretty good in terms of the fact that Porsche actually had a hand in creating these cars. And Audi and Porsche have been known to like co-conspire in certain ways to make vehicles like this. The Toyota Supra. Everybody knows the Toyota Supra. It is a legend from Japan, especially if you get the 2JZ engine. These things are just monsters. They'll make a Challenger demon like really, really run through its paces. Mercedes-Benz 500E. Also, another partnership between Porsche and another company. Porsche built the engine for this car. If you do your homework on that, you'll see that too. 98 Subaru Impreza. It was the first Subaru Impreza generation to enter the North American market. Some of them were known to be like kind of crappy in sense of like quality, but that's just because we use a different type of fuel here in North America than they use in Japan. These things have a lateral piston engine, which instead of being in a V conformation, the pistons go back and forth. And the same thing, like on, they basically they operate on a horizontal level instead of perpendicular level, like most conventional engines operate. Dodge Ram van. Not much special to say about that, except it's got like this cool little kind of go-kart. Take a good look at it. The top's open. And there's kind of a little bit of a go-kart in the back. I don't know if you guys can see that. Moving forward, we've got the highly coveted Acura Integra. This vehicle is not the North American version. The North American version came with two dual headlights. This is the one from Japan. They did manage to make a couple of these appear in North America. Very cool cars, just like a Honda Civic SI or SIR. Same powertrain. Any Acura or Honda enthusiast will know what I'm talking about. Then we got the Lancer Evo. And this was the last, I believe this was the last evolution that Mitsubishi made. Mitsubishi's kind of disappeared off the map in the last, like, almost decade. But the newest Lancer that they came out with, which was like maybe 10 plus years ago, I thought it was a very cool styling. Very aggressive. And the Evolution version was just totally off the map. Next, we got the Ford Focus RS. Real fun cars to drive. I've driven a couple of them. The only problem is they got issues with those dual clutches that they have. Mostly because people beat the piss out of them with not actually knowing how to operate them. They're shift on the fly, semi-manual transmission, and the dual clutches really weren't meant for that kind of abuse. And as a result, I've seen a few of these come and go out of the shop where the dual clutches have been replaced. But still, very cool car. Previous generation Corvette, which I still think, don't get me wrong, the new Corvette is really cool, but they made it look more like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, which kind of takes away from the whole entire, I don't know, iconic image that the Corvette has. The Corvette is one of those classic rear-wheel drive V8 powered monsters that, you know, American manufacturers were known for. Now it's fallen suit with, like, you know, like Ferrari and Audi. Oh, okay, we're going to put the engine, you know, in the back or in the middle, which is cool. I get it. Not bad. But it kind of takes away from, you know, what it used to be. And given the era that we're living in right now, you know, like, retro is in. Retro is in. So, like, you know, I'm not too sure how many people are receptive to this kind of thing. I mean, there's a lot of, like, Corvette owners like that own old school ones that are like, oh, okay, yeah, it's cool and everything, but like it doesn't make sense. You know, the traditional American rear-wheel drive V8 sports car, muscle car is not the current Corvette. But being that said, I think Chevrolet did a great job making it, and it does look cool. It's a very quick shift over into something new that was, you know, like held sacred for decades. And then we got the Nissan Z. Anybody who knows Nissan or Datsun, these cars were the king of their absolute crown, okay? These things, especially the ones from like the late 70s, early 80s, they weighed absolutely nothing and they took off like rockets. Very impressive vehicles. And for Nissan to bring that back, very impressive. And we got the Audi RSE Tron GT. Electric car. Electric cars are becoming more popular, and the staggering amount of torque that these vehicles put out. I'm sorry, like I think it's really really cool, but I'm always going to opt for a gasoline engine just because I like an exhaust note. You know what I mean? But as far as electric cars go, this and other vehicles such as the Ford, the Ford Mach E, all that stuff, they're becoming really really popular, and hopefully that it can get to a point where it'll be affordable for everyone. But like they're so prohibitively expensive right now, it's going to take a while for them to take off. Uh, Anyways, here's my truck lineup: 1970s Mazda pickup, 1980 Camino, 82 Dodge Rampage. When is the last time anybody saw a Dodge Rampage or a Plymouth Scamp, which was its sister vehicle? I think the last time I saw one, I was like maybe 12. Then we've got the Range Rover Defender pickup. I'm assuming this is sometime in the late 80s. Range Rover Defender from the 90s because the grille is not recessed like this one is. Nissan Patrol, not offered in North America. Very highly sought after as far as off-road capability is concerned. And here's the always loved classic, the Jeep Wagoneer. The Jeep Wagoneer was a staple of SUV practicality. Back when this came out, most SUVs like the Chevy Blazer, the Ford Bronco, they were all two doors. They weren't very practical. They were basically meant for off-roading. Jeep took it one step ahead, and this is, I believe, when they were first owned by AMC, American Motor Company. Took the reins and built this utilitarian SUV that is not only capable of off-roading to like a very high degree, but also capable of practicality in terms of like you had a family or something. And then we move on to the F-150 Lightning. This truck makes me wish that Paul Walker was still alive. It's very iconic. If you're in the car world and you're in the movie world, you'll know that he slung parts for Harry in this thing. And if he were still alive and if he were ever around to like do like an autograph signing or anything, this would be what I brought to him for a signature. I stumbled across this at a dollar store, if you can believe it or not. Okay, this Chrysler Pacifica all-wheel drive. Now, I can say with every measure of confidence that I've never actually seen a minivan converted to be capable of off-road, like basically Baja performance like this is. However, it is a neat take on it, whether it exists or not. It's kind of neat, and it's different. It's kind of, I don't know, I guess it kind of shows what it could be capable of if it were modified. Either way, it's just weird and quirky, and that's why I got it. Then we got the big three. We got the 2009 F-150. We've got a 2019 Chevy Silverado. And a 2020 Dodge Ram. Gotta have all three. All great trucks. I would say out of all the new truck designs, Dodge still has the best one going. I find Chevrolet's trucks to be a little weird with like that swoop that comes over here. They're still light and like nice looking trucks, but their whole entire appearance is generally controversial, as most people in the car enthusiast realm will agree with. The F-150 has been tried, tested, and true. Very little has changed over the years, especially in terms of cosmetics. But it's still a nice truck, and it's still #1 best-selling vehicle, not only in Canada or the U.S., but like North America as a whole. So that says a lot. The Dodge Ram, I do like the new Rams. The only thing I don't like about these damn trucks is that turn-dial shifter. I like a nice column shifter, at least a force head, so I can feel the vehicle going into gear, which they don't provide in that. I guess they're trying to make it feel more like a Jaguar or Mercedes or something with that. The look looks good, but there's a reason that they're still making the Dodge Ram Classic, which is the previous generation that they're still building in record numbers, probably to use up the rest of the parts. And then we have the GMC Hummer. Now, for those of you who don't know, Hummer was a bitchin' mad, goddamn ass-grabbing fucking vehicle. Okay, the United States military used it, and they came out with the Hummer H2 back in, I think, 2002, somewhere around there. I think I was in high school, as more like kind of a utilitarian civilian version. Horrible on gas, as you would imagine, but it was a pretty cool vehicle. But the Hummer brand was discontinued, I believe, sometime in the late 2000s, like 2008, 2009, when GM started getting rid of Pontiac and they got rid of Oldsmobile and did a whole bunch of other horrible mistakes, which, you know, ultimately cost them because they make such boring vehicles now. But this new Hummer, very, very cool vehicle, has 1,000 horsepower, can do 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. Very neat vehicle. Toyota Tacoma. Toyota Tacoma is it's Toyota's go-to truck. There's two types of people that want a pickup truck. There are people that want a large truck that can pull a ton of weight and, you know, like be very useful. And then there's the other person that wants a truck that's not as big, but still has performance, and they mostly want to use it for fun. That's where the Tacoma comes in. And of course, we got the Ford Bronco. The Ford Bronco, the newest one, is extremely controversial. There's a lot of people that love it or hate it. You're not really in between with either of those things. I guess it's probably just like, you know, like Jeep owners bitching and complaining about that whole entire thing, but it is a very good vehicle. I drove one myself with the manual transmission. The crappy thing is Ford's EcoBoost motor that they designed for this and the Ranger, not the greatest ever. Moving forward, we've got the Matchbox Cadillac CTS-V. Pretty cool car. I probably wouldn't buy one just because I don't like the way that the back window swoops up like that, but, you know, who am I to say what's right and what's wrong? Going forward, we've got the Slingshot. Everybody's seen these things. And the whole entire Jeep lineup, including the Jurassic Park one, along with a collection of police cars. I'll get into the Matchbox another time. For now, enjoy.